The old house, at the end of Green Street, had been empty for 20 years. Everyone in the small town of Millbrook knew the story. They said a rich man named Thomas Gray once lived there. One day, he simply disappeared. No one knew where he went. No one knew why he left. The house stayed empty, and people stayed away. Maya Chen was 12 years old. She had moved to Millbrook with her mother just 3 weeks ago. Her mother got a job at the local hospital. Maya did not know anyone in town. She spent most of her time alone, walking through the quiet streets and exploring the area. One afternoon, Maya walked past the old gray house. She stopped and looked at it. The house was big and beautiful, even though it looked sad and forgotten. Paint was falling off the walls. Windows were broken. The garden was full of wild grass and dead flowers. But Maya saw something else. She saw a house that was once loved. She saw a house with stories to tell. Maya noticed something strange. There was a light in one of the windows. It was small and yellow, like a candle. She watched it for a moment. The light moved from one window to another. Someone was inside the house. Maya felt her heart beat faster. She knew she should walk away. She knew she should go home and forget about the light. But something pulled her toward the house. She wanted to know who was inside. She wanted to know the truth. She walked up the old stone path. Her feet made soft sounds on the ground. She reached the front door and stopped. The door was made of dark wood. There was a lion's head made of metal in the center. Maya reached out and touched it. The metal was cold under her fingers. She pushed the door. It opened slowly, with a long, low sound. Maya stepped inside. The house was dark and dusty. She could see old furniture covered with white sheets. There were paintings on the walls, but they were too dirty to see clearly. Maya walked slowly through the entrance hall. Her eyes moved left and right, looking for the person with the light. She heard a sound. It came from upstairs. It was like footsteps, soft and careful. Maya looked at the staircase. It was wide and made of wood. Some steps were broken. She took a deep breath and started to climb. Each step made a sound under her feet. Maya tried to be quiet, but the old wood did not want to stay silent. She reached the top of the stairs and found herself in a long hallway. There were many doors on both sides. All of them were closed. The light appeared again. It came from under one of the doors at the end of the hallway. Maya walked toward it. Her hands were shaking. Her mouth was dry. She did not know what she would find behind that door. She reached the door and put her hand on the handle. She turned it slowly and pushed the door open. Inside the room, she saw a boy. He was about her age, maybe a little older. He had dark hair and pale skin. He was holding a candle in his hand. When he saw Maya, his eyes went wide with surprise. "Who are you?" the boy asked. His voice was quiet, almost like a whisper. "My name is Maya," she said. "I saw the light from outside. I wanted to know who was here." The boy looked at her for a long moment. Then he relaxed a little. "My name is Leo," he said. "I come here sometimes. I like to look at the old things." Maya looked around the room. It was a library. There were books everywhere. They filled the shelves from floor to ceiling. There were books on the tables and books on the floor. It was the most beautiful room Maya had ever seen. "This is amazing," Maya said. She walked to one of the shelves and touched the books. They were old and dusty, but she could feel their importance. "Thomas Gray loved books," Leo said. "He collected them from all over the world. Some of these books are very old. Some of them are very rare." "How do you know so much about Thomas Gray?" Maya asked. Leo smiled, but it was a sad smile. "My grandmother used to work for him. She was his housekeeper. She told me many stories about this house and about Mr. Gray." "What happened to him?" Maya asked. Why did he disappear? Leo's face became serious. No one knows for sure. My grandmother said he was looking for something very important. She said he found a clue in one of these books. The next day he was gone. Maya felt a chill run down her back. What was he looking for? A treasure, Leo said. My grandmother called it the heart of the mountain. She said it was a jewel, the biggest and most beautiful jewel in the world. It was hidden somewhere. And Mr. Gray? Gray spent his whole life trying to find it. Maya looked at the books around her. Somewhere in this room was a clue that led Thomas Gray on a journey he never came back from. Do you think the treasure is real? Maya asked. Leo nodded slowly. I think it is, and I think I can find the clue that Mr. Gray found. I have been looking for months, but there are so many books. I need help. Maya looked at Leo. She saw hope in his eyes. She saw excitement. She felt the same feelings inside herself. This was an adventure. This was something special. I will help you, Maya said. We will find the clue together. Leo smiled, and this time it was a real smile. Thank you, Maya. I think together we can do it. They shook hands in the dark library. Outside the sun was setting. The shadows in the room grew longer. But Maya was not afraid. She had found a friend. And she had found something she had been missing since she moved to Millbrook. She had found a purpose. Maya and Leo agreed to meet the next day. They would start searching the books. They would find the clue. They would discover what happened to Thomas Gray. As Maya walked home that evening, she looked back at the old house. The light in the window was gone now, but she knew she would see it again tomorrow. She knew this was just the beginning of something big. The stars started to appear in the sky. Maya smiled and walked faster. She could not wait to tell her mother about her day. But she decided to keep the treasure a secret. Some things were better kept between friends. That night, Maya dreamed of jewels and old books and a man who disappeared. She dreamed of adventure and discovery. And when she woke up the next morning, she jumped out of bed with energy. Today, the search would begin. Maya ate her breakfast quickly that morning. Her mother noticed her excitement, but did not ask too many questions. She was happy to see Maya looking so alive. Since they moved to Millbrook, Maya had been quiet and sad. Now there was light in her eyes again. Going out to explore? Her mother asked with a smile. Yes, Maya said. I made a friend. His name is Leo. Her mother looked pleased. That's wonderful, honey. Just be careful and come home before dark. Maya promised she would. She grabbed her bag and ran out the door. The morning air was fresh and cool. Birds were singing in the trees. Maya felt like the whole world was full of possibilities. She reached the old gray house in 10 minutes. Leo was already waiting at the front door. He looked tired, like he had not slept well. But he smiled when he saw Maya. You came, he said. I was not sure you would. I said I would help, Maya replied. I keep my promises. They went inside together. The house looked different in the daylight. Sunlight came through the dirty windows and made patterns on the floor. Dust floated in the air like tiny stars. Leo led Maya to the library. In the light of day, the room was even more impressive. There were thousands of books. Maya felt small standing among them. Where do we start? She asked. Leo walked to a desk in the corner. There were papers and notebooks spread across it. This is everything I have found so far, he said. My grandmother told me that Mr. Gray was reading a book about mountains before he disappeared. She remembered, because he asked her about mountains in different countries. Maya picked up one of the notebooks. It was filled with Leo's handwriting. He had made lists of books about mountains. He had written notes about Thomas Gray's life. He had drawn maps and charts. You have worked very hard, Maya said. Yes, but I still have not found the right book, Leo said. He sounded frustrated. There are too many books about mountains. I do not know which one has the clue. Maya thought for a moment. Maybe we are looking at this wrong, she said. Your grandmother said it was called the Heart of the Mountain. Maybe it is not about regular mountains. Maybe it is about something special. Leo's eyes lit up. You might be right. Let me think. He closed his eyes and tried to remember. My grandmother said Mr. Gray talked about old stories. Stories from long ago. He was interested in myths and legends. Then we should look for books of myths, Maya said. Books about legends and old stories. They started searching the shelves. The library was organized, but many books had fallen or been moved over the years. They had to look carefully at each section. After an hour, Maya found a shelf with old leather books. The covers were decorated with gold designs. She pulled one out and blew off the dust. The title said, Legends of the Eastern Mountains. Leo, look at this, she called. Leo came over quickly. He took the book and opened it carefully. The pages were yellow and fragile. They smelled like time itself. This could be it, Leo whispered. He turned the pages slowly. There were stories about dragons and giants and magical creatures. Then he stopped. His face went pale. What is it? Maya asked. Leo pointed to a page. There was a picture of a beautiful red jewel. It was shaped like a heart. Below the picture there was a title, The Heart of the Mountain. We found it, Leo said. His voice was shaking. They sat down together and started to read. The story was old and strange. It told of a great mountain in a faraway land. Inside the mountain lived a powerful spirit. The spirit protected a jewel made from the tears of the earth. The jewel had magic powers. It could bring good luck to anyone who held it, but it could also bring danger to those who wanted it for selfish reasons. The story said that many people tried to find the jewel. Kings and queens sent armies to search for it. Explorers and adventurers looked for the mountain. But the spirit was clever. The mountain moved. It was never in the same place twice. Only those with pure hearts could find it. At the end of the story, there was a poem. Leo read it out loud. When the sun meets the moon in the western sky, when the water flows up and the birds do not fly, when the old becomes young and the wrong becomes right, the path to the heart will appear in the night. Maya frowned. What does that mean? I do not know, Leo said, but Mr. Gray must have understood it. He must have figured out where to go. Maya looked at the book again. She noticed something on the edge of the page. There was a small mark, like someone had written something in pencil. She looked closer. Leo, there is writing here, she said. Leo leaned in. The writing was faint and hard to read, but they could make out a few words. Eclipse, June, river. Eclipse, Leo repeated. A solar eclipse. When the sun meets the moon. Maya felt excitement rush through her body. This must be the clue. Mr. Gray figured out that he needed to go somewhere during an eclipse. But where? Leo asked. And when? Maya thought hard. We need to find out when there was an eclipse. If we know when Mr. Gray disappeared, we can check if there was an eclipse around that time. Leo jumped up. I know someone who might help. Mrs. Patterson at the library. She knows everything about this town. She might know when Mr. Gray left and if there was an eclipse. They decided to go to the town library. They carefully put the book in Leo's bag and left the house. The sun was high in the sky now. The streets of Millbrook were busy with people. The town library was a small building near the center of town. It was painted white and had flowers in the windows. Inside, it smelled like books and lemon cleaning spray. Mrs. Patterson was an old woman with white hair and kind eyes. She wore glasses on a chain around her neck. When she saw Leo, she smiled warmly. Hello, Leo, she said. Back again to look at old newspapers? Yes, Mrs. Patterson, Leo said. And I brought a friend. This is Maya. Mrs. Patterson looked at Maya and nodded. Welcome to Millbrook, dear. I heard your mother started working at the hospital. We are glad to have you here. Maya smiled politely. Thank you. Leo leaned closer to Mrs. Patterson. We need to find information about Thomas Gray, the man who lived in the old house. Do you know when he disappeared? Mrs. Patterson's smile faded a little. Thomas Gray, she said softly. Yes, I remember. It was a long time ago. I was just a young woman then. He disappeared in June of 1994. It was a strange time. There was a big eclipse that month. The whole town came out to watch it. Maya and Leo looked at each other. Their hearts were beating fast. The clue was real. Mr. Gray had left during an eclipse. Do you know anything else? Maya asked. Do you know where he might have gone? Mrs. Patterson shook her head slowly. No one knew. He did not tell anyone, but I remember one thing. A few days before he left, he was asking about rivers. He wanted to know about rivers that flow north instead of south. Rivers that flow north, Leo repeated. He wrote it down in his notebook. There are not many of those, Mrs. Patterson said, but there are a few special ones that go the other way. Maya thanked Mrs. Patterson. They left the library with new information. The puzzle was coming together. Mr. Gray had gone somewhere during an eclipse, somewhere near a river that flowed north. They sat on a bench outside and talked about what they had learned. The sun was warm on their faces. People walked by, going about their normal lives. They did not know that two young people were solving a mystery that had been hidden for 20 years. We need to find a map, Maya said. A map that shows rivers that flow north. Leo nodded. I think there are maps in the Gray house, in Mr. Gray's study. They decided to go back to the house. The mystery was getting bigger. The treasure was getting closer, and Maya and Leo were getting braver. As they walked back, Maya wondered what they would find. Would they discover where Thomas Gray went? Would they find the heart of the mountain? And most importantly, would they be brave enough to follow the path that Mr. Gray had taken? Only time would tell. But Maya knew one thing for certain. She was not going to stop until she found the truth. The study of Thomas Gray was hidden behind a secret door. Leo had found it months ago. The door looked like part of the wall, but if you pushed in the right place, it opened. Leo showed Maya how to do it. She pressed her hand against a wooden panel, and the door swung inward. The study was smaller than the library, but just as full of things. There was a large desk covered with papers. Maps hung on every wall. Globes sat on shelves next to strange instruments that Maya did not recognize. In the corner, there was a telescope pointed at the ceiling, where a window let in light from above. Mr. Gray loved to study the stars, Leo said. My grandmother said he would stay up all night, looking at the sky. Maya walked around the room slowly. She touched the old papers on the desk. She looked at the maps on the walls. Each map showed a different part of the world. Some maps were very old. Some were new. All of them had marks on them, made with red and blue pencils. Look at this, Maya said. She pointed to a large map on the wall behind the desk. It showed a part of Asia. There were mountains drawn in brown and rivers drawn in blue. One area was circled with red pencil. Inside the circle, there were 3 words written in small letters. It begins here. Leo came closer to look. The circled area showed a mountain range. A thin blue line ran through it. The line moved upward on the map, toward the north. A river that flows north, Maya said quietly. This must be it. Leo looked at the map more carefully. The Salween River, he read. It flows through Myanmar and China. And yes, parts of it flow northward through the mountains. They had found the place. Mr. Gray had gone to Asia. He had followed a river through the mountains. He had been searching for the heart of the mountain. They were so close to the truth, but they were also far from the treasure itself. The place on the map was on the other side of the world. 2 children from Millbrook could not travel there alone. Leo seemed to read her thoughts. "We cannot go there," he said. "We are too young. We do not have money. Our parents would never allow it." Maya nodded. "But we can still learn more. We can find out what happened to Mr. Gray. Maybe he left more clues." They spent the next few hours searching the study. They looked through every drawer. They read every paper. They found journals that Mr. Gray had written. The journals told the story of his obsession with the heart of the mountain. Thomas Gray had first heard the legend when he was a young man. He was traveling through Asia when an old storyteller told him about the magical jewel. From that moment, Thomas was captivated. He spent the rest of his life collecting information about the legend. The journals described his research. He traveled to libraries around the world. He met with scholars and historians. He learned about eclipses and ancient calendars. He studied the movement of stars and the flow of rivers. Everything pointed to one place, a hidden valley in the mountains of Asia. The last journal entry was dated June 10th, 1994. It said, "Tomorrow the eclipse begins. I have prepared everything. I will take the northern path along the river. If my calculations are correct, the valley will reveal itself when the sun disappears. This is my final journey. I will find the heart of the mountain, or I will die trying." Maya closed the journal with trembling hands. Thomas Gray had gone into the mountains during an eclipse. He had never come back. Did he find the treasure? Did something happen to him? The journal did not give any answers. "There must be more," Leo said. He would not leave without making a record, in case something happened. They searched again. This time, Maya noticed something strange about the desk. One of the drawers seemed shorter than the others. She pulled out the drawer and looked inside. It was empty. But when she measured it with her hand, she realized the drawer was not as deep as it should be. "There is a false bottom," Maya said. Leo helped her feel around the drawer. They found a small notch in the wood. Maya pressed it, and the bottom of the drawer popped up. Underneath, there was a leather envelope. Maya's heart was racing as she opened the envelope. Inside, there was a letter. It was addressed to whoever finds this. She read the letter out loud. "My dear friend, if you are reading this, it means I did not return from my journey. I went searching for something beautiful, and that is a good way to spend a life. I want you to know that the heart of the mountain is real. I have seen proof. I have held objects that came from the hidden valley. The legend is true. But I must warn you, the journey is dangerous. Many have tried and failed. The mountains are cruel, the weather is harsh, and there are people who do not want the secret to be discovered. They guard the valley with their lives. If you wish to continue my search, I have left a map with detailed directions. It is hidden in the place where knowledge sleeps. The map will guide you to the starting point of the journey. From there you must follow the signs. Remember the poem from the book. It holds the final secret. When the moment is right, all will be revealed. I wish you luck and courage. Thomas Gray. Maya and Leo sat in silence for a moment. The letter was like a message from the past. Thomas Gray was speaking to them across 20 years of time. The place where knowledge sleeps, Leo repeated. What does that mean? A library, Maya said slowly. Books contain knowledge, and when no one is reading them, the knowledge sleeps. The library in this house, Leo said. His eyes were wide. The map is hidden in the library. They rushed back to the library. The sun was lower now, and the room was filled with golden light. They looked at the thousands of books on the shelves. The map could be hidden anywhere. Where would he hide it? Maya wondered out loud. It could take weeks to check every book. Leo walked slowly around the room. He was thinking hard. Mr. Gray was clever. He would not hide it in just any book. He would hide it somewhere meaningful. Maya remembered the book they had found earlier. The book with the legend of the heart of the mountain. The book where we found the clue, she said. Maybe the map is there too. Leo grabbed the book from his bag. They had brought it with them from the library. He opened it carefully and checked every page. He shook it gently. Nothing fell out. It is not here, Leo said with disappointment. Maya took the book and looked at it again. She examined the cover. She felt the spine. Then she noticed something. The back cover was thicker than the front cover. She pressed on it. It felt hollow. There is something inside the cover, she said. She found a small tool on Mr. Gray's desk. Using it carefully, she opened the back cover of the book. Inside, there was a folded piece of paper. It was the map. The map was hand-drawn with careful detail. It showed mountains and rivers and paths. There were notes written in the margins, instructions for the journey, warnings about dangers. Everything Thomas Gray had learned was on this single piece of paper. Maya and Leo looked at each other. They had found it. They had found the key to the heart of the mountain. But now they faced a difficult question. What should they do with it? They were just children. They could not travel to Asia. They could not climb mountains and face dangers. The map was valuable, but they could not use it. We need help, Maya said. We need to tell someone who can use this information. Leo was quiet for a moment. My grandmother always said that Mr. Gray had a daughter. She lives far away now, but maybe we could find her. Maybe she would want to know what happened to her father. It was a good idea. If they could find Thomas Gray's daughter, they could give her the map and the journals. She could decide what to do next. She could continue her father's quest. The sun was setting now. Maya knew she had to go home soon, but she did not want to leave. There was still so much to discover. We will meet again tomorrow, she said to Leo. We will find out about Mr. Gray and his daughter. Gray's daughter. We will not give up. Leo smiled. Thank you, Maya. I have been searching alone for so long. It is good to have a friend. Maya smiled back. She carefully folded the map and gave it to Leo for safekeeping. Then she walked out of the old house and into the evening air. The sky was painted with colors of orange and pink. The first stars were appearing. Maya walked home with her head full of thoughts. They had discovered so much, but the adventure was not over. It was only just beginning. The next morning, Maya woke up early. She had dreamed about mountains and rivers all night. In her dreams, she had walked through valleys of snow and ice. She had seen the heart of the mountain glowing like a red star in the darkness. At breakfast, her mother noticed that Maya was distracted. "You seem very busy lately," her mother said. "What are you and your new friend doing?" Maya hesitated. She did not want to lie to her mother, but she also did not want to explain everything. "We are exploring," she said carefully. "We found an old house with lots of interesting things." Her mother looked concerned. "Be careful, honey. Old houses can be dangerous. The floors might be weak. Things might fall." "I will be careful," Maya promised. She met Leo at the old house after breakfast. He looked tired, but his eyes were bright with excitement. He had been doing research all night. "I found her," Leo said, as soon as Maya walked in. "Thomas Gray's daughter. Her name is Sarah Gray. She is a professor at a university. She teaches history and archaeology." Maya felt a spark of hope. A professor would understand the importance of their discovery. A professor might know what to do with the map. "How do we contact her?" Maya asked. Leo held up a piece of paper. "I found her email address on the university website. I think we should write to her. We should tell her what we found." They went to the library together. Leo had brought his laptop. They sat at one of the old tables and started to write an email. It was harder than Maya expected. How do you tell someone that you found clues about their missing father? How do you explain that you are just children but you discovered something important? They wrote and erased many times. Finally, they had a message they were happy with. Leo read it out loud. Dear Professor Gray, my name is Leo, and my friend is Maya. We live in Millbrook, where your father Thomas Gray used to live. We have been exploring his old house, and found some things we think you should know about. We found journals that your father wrote. We found a map and a letter. The letter was addressed to whoever found it. We learned about your father's search for something called the Heart of the Mountain. We do not know if you already know about these things, but we thought you might want to see what we found. Your father seemed like a brave and curious person. We have great respect for him. Please write back if you want to learn more. We want to help. Sincerely, Leo and Maya. Maya nodded. It is good. Send it. Leo pressed the send button. The email flew away into the internet. Now they could only wait. They spent the rest of the day looking through more of Mr. Gray's papers. They found photographs from his travels. They saw pictures of mountains and temples and people from distant lands. Thomas Gray had lived an amazing life. He had seen so much of the world. One photograph caught Maya's attention. It showed Thomas Gray standing next to a young woman. The woman had long dark hair and a warm smile. She was holding a little girl in her arms. The little girl had the same smile. That must be his wife and daughter, Maya said. Professor Gray when she was just a baby. Leo looked at the photograph sadly. She must miss him. It is hard to lose a father. Maya thought about her own father. Her parents had divorced when she was young. Her father lived in another city now. She saw him sometimes, but not often. It was not the same as losing someone forever, but she understood the feeling of missing someone. Days passed. Maya and Leo checked the email every day. There was no response from Professor Gray. Maya started to worry. Maybe the professor did not believe them. Maybe she thought they were joking or lying. Maybe she simply did not care about her father's old obsession. On the 5th day, Leo ran to meet Maya with his laptop in his hands. His face was full of joy. She wrote back, he shouted. They sat down on the steps of the Gray house and read the email together. Dear Leo and Maya, thank you for your kind letter. I was very surprised to receive it. I have not thought about my father's old house in many years. I must be honest with you. When my father disappeared, I was very sad and very angry. He chose to chase a legend instead of staying with his family. For a long time, I did not want to think about him or his search. But as I have grown older, I have come to understand him better. He was a dreamer. He believed in things that most people thought were impossible. Maybe that is not a bad way to live. I am very interested in what you have found. I will be visiting Millbrook next week for personal reasons. I would like to meet you and see the things you discovered. Please be careful with the journals and the map. They are important to me. Thank you again for reaching out. You are brave young people. Sincerely, Sarah Gray. Maya and Leo looked at each other with wide smiles. Professor Gray was coming to Millbrook. She wanted to see what they had found. Their discovery would not be wasted. The week of waiting felt very long. Maya and Leo spent the time organizing everything they had found. They put the journals in order by date. They made copies of the most important documents. They prepared a presentation to show Professor Gray. The day finally came. Professor Gray arrived in a small blue car. She parked in front of the old house and stepped out slowly. She stood for a moment, just looking at the building. Her face was full of emotions that Maya could not read. Maya and Leo walked up to greet her. Professor Gray was a woman in her 50s. She had gray streaks in her dark hair. Her eyes were sharp and intelligent, like her father's eyes in the photographs. You must be Leo and Maya, she said. Her voice was warm, but a little shaky. Thank you for inviting me here. I have not been to this house since I was a child. They walked inside together. Professor Gray moved slowly through the rooms. She touched the old furniture. She looked at the paintings on the walls. Tears formed in her eyes, but she blinked them away. "It looks the same," she whispered. "It is like time has stopped here." They took her to the library first. Professor Gray gasped when she saw all the books. "I used to play here," she said. "I would hide between the shelves and pretend I was in a forest of stories." Then they showed her the study. They gave her the journals to read. They showed her the map and the letter. Professor Gray sat at her father's desk and read everything in silence. The room was quiet, except for the sound of pages turning. When she finished, her face was wet with tears. "He really believed," she said softly. "He really believed the treasure was real." "Do you think he found it?" Maya asked gently. Professor Gray shook her head. "I do not know. I hope he did. I hope his journey was not for nothing." She looked at the map for a long time. Her fingers traced the lines of the mountains and rivers. "This is remarkable," she said. "My father was a careful researcher. This map is very detailed." Then she looked at Maya and Leo with serious eyes. "I want to tell you something important. When my father disappeared, the police searched for him for months. They found nothing. But a few years later, I received a package. It came from a village in Myanmar. Inside was a small red stone, and there was a note. The note said only 3 words. I found it." "Your father sent it?" "I believe so," Professor Gray said. "The handwriting looked like his, but I was never certain. I kept the stone, but I tried not to think about what it meant." "Where is the stone now?" Leo asked. "I have it with me," Professor Gray said. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small wooden box. She opened it carefully. Inside, sitting on black velvet, was a beautiful red stone. It was small, about the size of a marble, but it glowed with inner light. It was the most beautiful thing Maya had ever seen. "Is that a piece of the heart of the mountain?" Maya whispered. Professor Gray smiled sadly. "Perhaps. Or perhaps it is just a pretty stone. I have never had it tested. I was afraid of what I might learn." They all sat in silence, looking at the glowing stone. The room felt different now. The air felt charged with mystery and wonder. 20 years of questions hung in the space between them. Finally, Professor Gray closed the box. She looked at Maya and Leo with gratitude in her eyes. "You have given me a great gift," she said. "You have helped me understand my father. You have helped me find peace with his choices. I cannot thank you enough." "What will you do now?" Maya asked. Professor Gray stood up and walked to the window. She looked out at the garden, where wild flowers grew among the weeds. "I think," she said slowly, "I think it is time to find out the truth. I think it is time to follow my father's path." The sun was setting outside. Golden light filled the study. Maya and Leo listened as Professor Gray began to make plans. She would take the map and the journals. She would find the valley that her father had searched for. And maybe, just maybe, she would discover what happened to Thomas Gray. The adventure was passing from one generation to the next. The search for the heart of the mountain would continue. 3 months had passed since Professor Gray left Millbrook. The summer had turned to autumn, and the leaves on the trees were changing colors. Orange and red and yellow painted the streets of the small town. Maya and Leo had returned to their normal lives. School had started again. Maya made other friends and joined the art club. Leo helped his parents at their small shop after classes. But every day, they thought about the treasure and about Professor Gray. She sent them emails from her journey. The first email came from Myanmar. She wrote about the busy streets and the ancient temples. She wrote about kind people who helped her find her way. She was following the river north, just like her father had done. The second email came from a small village in the mountains. She wrote about the cold nights and the hard walking. She wrote about meeting an old man who remembered Thomas Gray. The old man said that Thomas had been brave and determined. He had walked into the mountains and never walked out. The third email came from somewhere deeper in the mountains. The signal was weak, and the message was short. She wrote that she had found marks on the rocks, marks that her father had made 20 years ago. She was on the right path. Then, the email stopped. Maya checked her inbox every day. Nothing came. She started to worry. Had something happened to Professor Gray? Was she lost in the mountains like her father? Leo tried to comfort her. "The mountains are remote," he said. "There is no internet there. She is probably fine. She will write when she can." But as the days turned to weeks, even Leo grew concerned. They talked about what they should do. Should they tell someone? Should they call the police? But what would they say? A woman went searching for a magic jewel in the mountains of Asia? No one would believe them. One evening, Maya was sitting in her room doing homework. Her mind was not on her studies. She was thinking about Professor Gray and the heart of the mountain. She wondered if the whole adventure had been a mistake. Maybe they should not have sent that email. Maybe they should have left the mystery alone. There was a knock on her door. Her mother came in with a strange expression on her face. "Honey, there is someone here to see you," her mother said. "A woman named Sarah Gray. She says you know her." Maya jumped up from her chair. Her heart was racing. She ran downstairs to the living room. There, standing by the window, was Professor Gray. She looked different. Her skin was tan from the sun. Her hair was shorter. There were new lines on her face, marks of hard travel and difficult choices. But her eyes were bright, with something Maya had never seen before. It was joy, pure, complete joy. "Maya," Professor Gray said, "I have so much to tell you. Is Leo here?" He came running from his house. The three of them sat together in Maya's living room. Maya's mother brought tea and cookies, then left them alone to talk. "I found it," Professor Gray said. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. "I found the valley. I found everything." Maya and Leo leaned forward. They could not believe what they were hearing. Professor Gray began her story. She had followed the river north for many days. The journey was hard. The path was narrow and dangerous. She had to climb over rocks and wade through cold water. Many times she wanted to give up. But she kept thinking about her father. She kept thinking about his courage. After 2 weeks of walking, she reached a place where the river split into two streams. The map showed that she should follow the smaller stream to the east. She walked for another day until she reached a wall of rocks. It looked like the path ended there, but then she remembered the poem from the old book, "When the sun meets the moon in the western sky." She looked up. It was late afternoon. The sun was setting in the west, and there, in the same part of the sky, was the moon. They were close together, almost touching. As she watched, the light from the sun hit the wall of rocks in a special way. Shadows moved and changed, and suddenly she could see it, a narrow opening in the rocks, hidden by the play of light and shadow. She would never have found it if she had come at any other time of day. She squeezed through the opening. On the other side was a valley, the most beautiful valley she had ever seen. Green grass covered the ground. Flowers of every color grew everywhere. A small lake sat in the center, its water clear and blue. And at the far end of the valley, there was a cave. Professor Gray walked to the cave. Her legs were tired, but her spirit was strong. She entered the darkness, with only a small flashlight. The cave went deep into the mountain. The walls were covered with crystals that sparkled in her light. At the end of the cave, she found a chamber. In the center of the chamber was a stone platform, and on the platform sat the heart of the mountain. It was more beautiful than any picture or story could describe. The jewel was as big as her two fists together. It was red like fire and clear like water. It glowed with inner light, warm and gentle. When she looked at it, she felt peace. She felt love. She felt like everything in the world was exactly as it should be. Next to the jewel, there was a small pile of stones, and on one of the stones she found a message carved into the rock. The message said, "I came, I saw, I stayed. T.G." Professor Gray paused. Tears were flowing down her face now. "My father did not die," she said. "He chose to stay in that valley. He found something more valuable than any treasure. He found peace." Maya felt tears in her own eyes. The story was sad and beautiful at the same time. Thomas Gray had spent his whole life searching, and in the end, he had found exactly what he was looking for. "What did you do with the jewel?" Leo asked. Professor Gray smiled. "I left it there. That valley is protected by something I do not understand. The jewel belongs there. It should stay there. But I took photographs, and I took one small piece of crystal from the cave wall. Something to remember the place by." She reached into her bag and pulled out a small crystal. It sparkled in the light of Maya's living room. It was ordinary and magical at the same time. "I want you to have this," Professor Gray said. She placed the crystal in Maya's hand. "You and Leo made this journey possible. Without your curiosity and your kindness, I would never have found my father. I would never have found peace." Maya looked at the crystal. It felt warm in her palm. She could almost feel the energy of the distant valley flowing through it. "Thank you," Maya whispered. "Thank you for telling us the truth." Professor Gray stayed in Millbrook for a few more days. She visited the old house one last time. She walked through the rooms and said goodbye to the memories. Then she donated the house to the town. She asked that it be made into a library, a place where children could come and discover new worlds through books. The town accepted her gift with gratitude. Workers came to clean and repair the old building. They fixed the broken windows and painted the walls. They kept all of Thomas Gray's books on the shelves. A sign was placed above the door, "The Gray Library, where knowledge lives." Maya and Leo were at the opening ceremony. They watched as children ran through the rooms, exploring and laughing. The sad old house was filled with life again. Thomas Gray would have been happy to see it. After the ceremony, Maya and Leo walked home together. The sun was setting, painting the sky with colors of pink and gold. The autumn air was cool and fresh. "It is strange," Leo said. "A few months ago I was alone. I was searching for something without knowing what it was, and now everything has changed." Maya nodded. "We found more than a treasure. We found a story. We found friendship. We found courage." Leo smiled. "And we found out that some mysteries are better when they stay mysterious." They reached the point where their paths separated. Maya looked at her friend. They had shared an adventure that no one else would believe. They had touched something magical and real at the same time. "See you tomorrow?" Maya asked. "See you tomorrow," Leo replied. In her pocket, she carried the small crystal from the mountain cave. She could feel its gentle warmth against her leg. She thought about Thomas Gray, living in a beautiful valley at the end of the world. She thought about Professor Gray, finally at peace with her father's choices. She thought about the heart of the mountain, glowing in its hidden chamber. And she thought about herself, a girl who had moved to a new town, feeling lost and alone. A girl who had found a mystery and followed it to the end. A girl who had discovered that the greatest treasures in life are not jewels or gold, but the connections we make and the courage we find within ourselves. Maya reached her house and walked inside. Her mother was in the kitchen, cooking dinner. The smell of warm food filled the air. Everything was normal and ordinary and perfect. "How was your day?" her mother asked. Maya smiled. "It was good, Mom." It was really good. She went upstairs to her room and placed the crystal on her desk. It caught the last light of the sunset and scattered rainbows across the wall. Maya watched the colors dance and felt grateful for everything that had happened. The adventure was over, but the memory would last forever. And somewhere, in a hidden valley, at the heart of a distant mountain, magic was still alive. That was enough. That was more than enough.